Hi, Rita.
Hello, Pam, and hello, all our friends and viewers. I think it's been wonderful just talking to each other every week and coming up with all these great ideas. I know the past few weeks we've been talking about leadership and habits, and this is our episode number 8.
Yeah.
So, what are we going to talk about today, Pam?
Well, today I just want to tell you the things that I'm bringing up are the things that I'm working on personally,
Mhm.
and it's quite a challenge in my life. So, what do you think about keeping promises?
Wow, that's a great topic. And I love that topic because I really believe that when you're a leader and you are someone who is showing people the way, you should be someone who keeps your word, someone who keeps your promise. So, what would you say is a definition of the word promise?
Well, Christine Pohl, she's an author, and she quotes keeping promises to be when we make a promise, we voluntarily obligate ourselves to fulfill some future course of action, often to another's benefit. So basically, what she means is when you are making a promise, you're volunteering for a future commitment. So maybe at that moment, you'll be so excited,
Mm-hmm.
but then when the time comes to fulfill it, it might be challenging. So that's where keeping your promise is important because you said you're going to do it.
That's so true. And I think about promises and how it's intertwined into one's character. That it shows you who you are because when you are in a leadership position and you're leading people, you are always making promises. Or even otherwise, every single day you are constantly making promises to each other. We don't think of it that way, but we are making promises to one another. Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, yeah. I think about saying things like, um, I'll be praying for you, and I have to make sure that I pray for you. Can you think
That's
of
right.
other?
Or I will say things like, "Oh, I'm going to call you.
Mhm.
Let's get together for lunch."
Yes.
Or, I have this project and I'm going to finish it by Wednesday next week. Or I will make sure that I will send you this by this evening. We constantly give word to people and we
Yeah.
are making promises at that time, not even realizing that all of those are words that we're giving to people.
Yeah. The scripture that totally convicts me, but it's the character of God. It's found in Psalm 89, verse 34. My covenant I will not break, nor alter the word that has gone out of my lips. That's God talking to David. And isn't it so amazing that we have a God that, whatever he said, no matter how long it was, not a word falls to the ground without it being fulfilled. That's the God that we're following. So what comes out of our mouth, it's so important that we hold it and we keep it and we do it. I think it's
Yes.
important even what you say you're going to commit to.
Yeah.
So what do you think happens? I know you mentioned what happens when we don't keep a promise. So how
Oh,
do
I
we?
would rather think why we don't keep promises, right? Like, I know we want to, but I can think of a few reasons why. One thing I know is we don't realize the importance of our words, or we don't take ourselves seriously.
Sure.
I would say we forget or we get distracted.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I know we could overbook ourselves. I know I do that because
Yeah.
I tend to be a people pleaser, and so I just want to like say yes to everything, and
Yeah.
so then I overbook myself, and then I struggle. I'm like, oh no, I got to do this now. So that's a struggle to keep the promise, right? Or sometimes we just lack the willpower
Right.
to do what we said we're
Right.
going to do because we realize it gets harder to actually keep your word.
Yeah.
Or it could be that the enthusiasm to keep your word just like kind of died down after a while because
Yeah.
days went by and then
Right.
you forget. It's such a culture of not keeping your word.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you bring up a point of how it's so important for us to know why. Because in that zeal, when we're connected with our whys, we're like, yes, I want to do it. For example, I committed to a book study because when I heard about it, that's something I wanted to do. And then the day came for the book study. We had to read a lot of chapters. I had, hours of lectures to prepare, doing my doctorate homework, and I finished the book study, but it was hard to after. all day long to be committed to that. So sometimes we are excited about something, but it also accompanies this hard work or some denial of self.
That's true. And I remember you saying something about the culture. Remember you were talking to me earlier about how the culture influences us keeping our word. Would you
Yeah.
say something on
Yeah,
those?
I think that's what research has found, that the next generation actually don't keep promises. Not They
Mm,
don't make promises. Why? I think what she noticed is when our culture is moving more and more towards individualistic freedom and
right.
choices, and we have access to a cell phone and texting. So I don't really have to say I'm coming. I can decide last minute and just text you. And then I might stay back in the background and see who all are going to join this. Maybe something better might pop up on that day. So
Right.
they actually don't commit to anything. Isn't that funny?
And that's such a contrast to what we used to have.
Yes.
Wouldn't you say that?
Yes.
That in the past, when you gave your word, you would do anything to keep your word because it would mean your honor.
Yeah.
And I think that keeping a promise or keeping promises leads to building trust. It
Right.
leads to you having that integrity and people trusting in you. And it leads to a depth of
Yeah.
relationship, which I also see is kind of missing these days. People
Mm-hmm.
tend to be more on the shallow side. It's so
Mm-hmm.
hard to build that strong, deep friendship because we're so used to not keeping our word
Yep.
or not taking things seriously, right?
Yep.
And I
So
think
true.
it's like this. When you don't keep promises, it chips away
Mm.
at your credibility as a person. Now,
Yeah.
you may think, or I may think, oh, it's okay. I'll just say sorry and they'll forgive me. Ah, it's fine. Everybody changes their mind. But over a period of time,
Yeah.
it affects how people view you and me, because then we lose our
Yeah.
credibility of character, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. That's true. If you know someone's going to be flaky on you and
That's right.
you're a busy person and they're not going to show up, there's something that you feel like, I don't really trust you. So you're really that's really true what you brought up. Yep.
That is so
Yeah.
true. And I think this, we're trying to influence and add value to those leaders or people who are aspiring to be great leaders and
Yeah.
involving leaders. And I think keeping promise is such an important thing
Yeah.
because it may seem old fashioned, but really it shows the strength of your character.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so true. That's so true. Do you
Cool.
want to hear a quote that I
Go
found?
ahead. Hmm.
Um, this guy said, "People ask me, why is it so hard to trust people?" And I asked him, "Why is it so hard to keep a promise?" So
Wow.
muse on that for a bit. What do you
You're
think?
right. You're right. And I think, we have to find solutions though,
Yeah.
because I know the scripture says, let your yes be yes
Mm-hmm.
and no be no.
Mm-hmm.
God has set a standard for
Yeah.
us already.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what the culture says, it doesn't matter what the times do. Your yes has to be a yes, right? And I think practically, I would think of maybe, holding yourself accountable to everything you say and
Yeah.
not, taking yourself seriously that way.
Right.
Writing things down. I know for me, I need to write things down or put it on
Yeah.
my phone, or I will forget,
Yeah.
reminders.
Yeah.
Or better yet, don't make a promise. Like, be willing to say no. A
Yeah.
lot of times we just commit ourselves to things that we don't want to do.
Right.
And then we don't do that.
Yeah.
And then it looks really bad. So these are
Yeah.
some ways we can actually take this aspect very, very seriously.
Yeah.
What do you think, Pam?
Yeah. Yeah. So true. I think for me, it helps me to keep my commitment when I know the why.
Right.
And the why for me is relationships because I value relationships. So, for example, today, if I didn't show up when I told you I'm going to meet you every single week on a Monday,
That's
even
right.
though my life is crazy busy, um, why am I showing up? Because you're my friend.
Right.
And I don't want to not show up on you, right? So,
Well, I appreciate that. And I think that's why we remain friends for the past 30 years, I think.
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, as we come to the end of our musing, I would say I learned that there's two different kinds of promises. This explicit promise where
Okay.
the things that you do on the outside.
Yeah.
And then there's the implicit promise. It's who you are as a person, it's the
Hmm.
expectations. It's like you
Yeah.
saying that you have to show up for me, right? you're not saying it, but you're doing it. That's a promise of our friendship.
Right.
And I think if we can understand that,
Yeah.
I believe we will definitely work towards being better leaders in our life.
Yeah.
So
So
thank
true.
you, Pam, and thank you all the viewers. I know that you guys have been watching us. I'm getting so many good feedback from you, and just likes, and I know I got so many telephone calls. It has been encouraging for both of us, and we're very grateful. And we are learning, and we're so excited that we could just share what we're learning along the way and add value to your life. So until next time,
See
we're
you next
signing
week.
off.
All right. Bye, Rita.